Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 120th episode of Book of Hours, our first run as the artist through YouTube. Or, well, through Book of Hours, but on YouTube. And, I want to open up the Charred Chamber, but I also want to see what memories I get from Mr. Kill. So, it's going to be a little quiet at the start. Just because we have some things to get through, but we don't have that much longer left in the day either. We'll see what Mr. Kill gets me this time, and then we'll commit the elements of the soul that we can. Okay, fear. You know, that would have been helpful for one of the other ones. Not so helpful right now. We have what we need for the room, so we're going to still talk with him. But now I need to start thinking about what I'm going to use to level up the skills that I need. So we've got glass blowing and vessel crafting. That's going to use the gale and the solace, and we need another knock or sky. We have Rhyme and Remembrance, and that needs either Winter or Moon. So we're going to take the Regret and the Intuition. So the obvious choice here would be Confounding Parable, because I can use that with either one of these. The other thing I need to remember is I actually need to use an element of the soul to level one of these things up. So we're going to say Trist for Rhyme and Remembrance. Let's say Shapt for Glass Blowing and Vessel Crafting. That leaves me with a Core, a Faust, and a Fet to play around with. And then a Metal in a little while. So with that in mind, let's read whatever books we can first. So there's a Confounding Parable, which we will use to level up one of these. I already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. Now, I suppose if I'm feeling clever, there is a small risk that I'm taking doing this, but I'm actually going to use the Stolen Secret. That is deaths and their evasions, if I recall correctly. And the logic behind that is that should also apply to these two. Okay, if you've seen... I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. So the remaining question is, do I want to catalog another book? Or do I want to try and get one of these renewable memories? And honestly, I think cataloging is more important. So I shouldn't tie up consider. Let's go to... Actually, you know what? We can use Collers' desk, the unappreciated hero of Book of Hours. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's Curia period, roughly the 1700s to 1800s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. And then we will use the metal that I'm going to be restoring. We'll use that to make another Solomon. Well, I guess we don't really need another Solomon's preparation, but I'm going to make it anyway. Better now. Muddle and mix a wintry preparation. Excuse me. So depending on what memory we get out of Mr. Kill here, I might be a little miffed. Hang on. Oh yeah, no, we're fine. I might be a little miffed at how I use my elements of the soul, but again, I can't Can't predict how these things are going to turn out. Foresight doesn't really do that much for me here, so we're okay. Oop. I have an idea of this book's nature and its contents. Novel method for invocation and contrition. This is an Ericapean text. Now, Ericapean doesn't give us any rows to work with, so that would be VAC if we wanted. I'm pretty sure it's VAC. Yeah. So 14 rows is going to be a difficult one for us. A preliminal meter is probably my best bet here. That gives me 6. So I'm going to put that on the too tough pile for now. Now, night has fallen, dawn will come soon. I'm actually a little worried I might miss... I may wind up missing out on my tryst for the next day. Why? Am I not reading... Okay, yeah, I am. Deaths and Their Evasions. Father Stanislav John Schaller writes of the means and limitation of passage between the orders of the Mansus. No long names hours. Unusually, Father John has written this book in Fucine for, he says, especial secrecy. He speaks very cautiously of the exceptions that can sometimes be made to the edicts of Chancel and Calyptra, and hints at the means by which he successfully returned a lantern long to flesh. Schaller mentions most cautiously of all that he has been permitted to see a book that speaks more deeply on the matter, but that it was surrendered into the shadow of a covenant stone of the Watchman's Tree. It can be retrieved if the 99th wink is reserved under the edict's liminal. So there's our stolen secret. We have The Other Line, one of Samuel Savage's more thoughtful works, an allegorical play about the city Clarity, a city that is also a book, and the sentences which inhabit it. The Lord's Proverbial and the Lord's Disquisitional war in the streets of Clarity, while the punctuants get drunk on ink and supply the jokes, though by Savage's usual standards there aren't very many jokes. The final act sees the Lord's Proverbial unsealing the city Clarity's gate to expel the population into the unknown. The formula that they use for the unsealing is a real one. It can be used with knock and preliminal meter to create a gate sign of power. Okay, let's recover the shaft first. I suspect I'm going to be losing the tryst for tomorrow, but it's not the end of the world if that happens. Another fruit plucked from knowledge's tree. I might as well see what Mr. Kill gives me before I commit anything. Okay, another foresight. Dead men don't tell no bloody tales. Well, we'd listen. So we're going to use him to open up one of the last few rooms in the cucurbit. The iron door here stands ajar, but it still glows faintly red, even after all these years. This is not a natural heat, and there is no entirely natural way to quell it. Sorry, I wanted to eat something crunchy. The skill is now level 4. Its power aspects have also increased. So if we're lucky, we can get Rhyme and Remembrance up. Another fruit plucked from knowledge's tree. And then we will keep the gossip. Still not sure if we'll work with it with resurgences and emergences, but with Keeper level Winter, Solomon's preparations are a precursor to the Great Ink Nillikant. Yeah. A shame, but we'll work with it. All right. So I have a couple of choices to make. I think I'm going to take a minute here and just work out something. So with Reverend Timothy, he does not have, like, knock is not his focus. So if we take Rev T, so that's 1 knock, then we get 2 from Shapt. Memory would be 5. So that's 1, 3, 8. Okay. Interesting. So I'm 1 short on the I'm 1 short with Reverend Timothy. Now the easy answer to that, we don't have a knock tool to give him, but we do have a candle that we can give him. The trickier question is, like, the candle that I would give him is a reasonably strong one. So Aglyphotis scented candle. So I'm curious if I have... Yeah, there's gotta be. There's like a moth orchid candle, isn't there? Oh god, I didn't even think of this. The Cronsicord makes this, actually makes this a joke. I shouldn't, yeah, man, I should not have spent nearly as much time as I did on some of this knock stuff. So, I mean, if I want, I don't even really need to worry about the memories that much. Okay. Decisions. So yeah, there's got to be a moth orchid scented candle somewhere. I remember they're purple. No, you know, it's probably one of these. Nope, that's honey scar. Yeah, there we go. I should have something with chandlery. Let's see if I can figure this out without looking. Surely glaziering and lightsmithing would be one. Oh, transformations and liberations too. Interesting. All right. This is one of these... Okay, so in principle, hiring Reverend Timothy would make a lot of sense here. Actually, you know what? I don't even need to get that clever. Yeah, you know what? We're going to use Faust. Reverend Timothy enjoys thoughtful conversation, prayer, and tea, and he'll offer his assistance in return for a 1 shilling donation to church funds. So there's the shilling. We do appreciate the contribution. Let's get to work at the Sweet Bones 2. So there's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6pence worth of odd jobs. Now I think I only have 1 sacrament ascite, if memory serves. Yes. So it would be nice to make another one. That's not a that's not an emergency request, but do I not have Glassfinger toxin anymore? That's a piece of cake, actually. Cool. I will want to make some backup Glassfinger toxin, but we're off to a good start. And again, we will see what the day brings weather-wise before I commit anything else. Okay, a storm's not bad, but it's not relevant to resurgences and emergences, so I'm going to make more of the day. Oh, you know what? I do need to use my... Okay, I got too clever by half. I'm using my shaft for 2 minutes and then a third to bring it back, but I do actually need to use that shaft to level up Reverend Timothy. So, my bad. Let's see if we can work around this. So we're going to give him the Chronsicord, a music box that only performs once, a typewriter that can only send one message, a clock that can only strike now. Actually, hang on. So I think if I use this as a tool to read a knock book... Yeah, you know what? Okay, I've done a couple of silly things, but we'll work our way around this. I haven't done anything that can't be undone. So, a nice drop. I can offer my assistant something to drink. This will increase their aspects. They'll also be glad of the refreshment. Back in the Dawn period, the Sisterhood of the Triple Knot used this in the rites of the Horned Axe. Okay, I don't necessarily need to make Glassfinger Toxin right away. I do need to get my shaft back. I am going to see what I can do chandlery-wise, because I actually don't know. So when it comes to the beeswax, I think... Okay, yeah, we should be fine. There we go. Make a moth orchid scented candle to bring dreams. So yeah, it's a weird day, but I'm gonna make it through. Okay. I would, if I can, like to get a... Well, actually, you know what? While we're at it, let's think of some other things that I can get. Let's say... I'm gonna go for that earth sign. And let's grab that old wound as well. Okay. From there, let's catalog one of those nocturnal period books. So what I'm trying to do right now is just think, I obviously have lots of elements of the soul to do things with. I'm just trying to think if there's a particular order that would make some sense. So I'm filling in the gaps in terms of some of the things that I've wanted to get. I don't have any problems with those. Now probably wouldn't be a bad time for me to consider trying to get rid of some of these curses. I do want to rethink, so like something like the Road to Janus. Here's what I think is going to happen. I need to double check exactly how the tools work, but we've got the Road to Janus. We take VAC. So what I'm thinking happens here is we add Preliminal Meter, which doesn't seem that strong on its own. But we combine that with the chronsochord. All of a sudden, we're at 15 of the 18 required. Add a shaft to that, we're up to 17, and at that point, we just pick any memory we want, really. So, and I believe the chronsochord would be reusable in that case. So that's nice. But anyways, the reason why I'm kind of hesitating a little on some of these, I do actually have an opportunity to sort of make quite a bit of the day, and I'm trying to decide whether or not it would make sense for me to try another one of these phonographs, because they're easy for me to forget, seeing as they're on the other side of the building. And I do remember, yeah, so the Velletri interviews, for instance. Actually, yeah, that's one I should probably do right away. So let's throw that onto the pile. I might actually change that up now that I think of it. We'll see what we've got heart-wise. So if I use the storm instead, we're up to 12. Yeah. I've changed my mind on this. Now, I may regret it because we are starting to run out of time in the winter, but Lake Fusino recordings makes a little more sense just because we're in the middle of a storm, and this is a perfect amount to get this one read without any other interference. So, heart onwards. I can master this mystery. Enough heart to match mystery heart. So now it actually makes sense for me to hold back a little bit on the elements of the soul, because I don't know what else is coming up. The skill is now level 4. Its power aspects have also increased. All right. And what do we have here? The Crucible Tower Interview Laboratory. When a prisoner resisted all other interventions, Collers would bring them here to test and refine their worth. His successes might be transferred to Zurich or turned over to the Legion de Sul to earn their humanity, or even, at least once, released. But his successes were not numerous. Here, at last, is where the fire began and where it ended. When the power below the prison was released, it came here to interview Collers. Perhaps it intended to put him in his own device, but it seems that there was not nearly enough of him left for that. We have the Black Sapphire Wash, phosphorescent scraping, rendered inert but still luminous, Heart in a Jar, an offering, or an exhibit. Regensburg Balm and Libidic Tincture. We have Gideon Soaks. Please refrain from smoking. Wolf Snow Ampule, far too cold to ever melt in anything but the hottest noonday sun. It will very gradually consume human flesh. And Condignator, terrible heart of the Governor's terrible project. Edge, Forge, Knock, and Lantern. Soul. Skill. Subject, it'll take an element of the soul. Cooperative, fuel, memory, remains, or a tool. Same with mode. I've carried the memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. So seeing as I'm reading a book now, I've kept some of the elements of the soul back. I am happy to catalog the remaining 2 texts, but again, there's no rush for those. I'll probably use the Arab and something. Now I have an idea of the book's nature and its contents. The wonderful shape, blessings and invocation of the triple knot recorded at a sanctuary in Cyprus, notable for its weavers, sculptors, and gardeners. Now it's interesting that this is a dawn period book, because we did catalog a nocturnal period. In fact, I'm going to take a screenshot of that. But it's a Killisimi, but 10 Grail, so that's something that we should be able to read. And down to the Grussians, this has boosted their aspects appropriately. So I don't think there's anything else we can really do with the Reverend Timothy right now. Oh, you know what? I am going to talk with him. Reverend Timothy is always, always happy to chat. I do need to use my Arab for something, though. So the sun's weakness is going to be... I'm just kind of giving that up. Because I do need to read the Cosley work again. For the remaining elements of the soul, those I'm going to keep. Now, this room is going to be a bit difficult. So 14 is high to begin with. But on top of that, I either need to get a Wormwood Dream or I need to get very lucky. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. It is winter and the storms have tightened the seas. I'm sitting before the fire in the sweet bones with a beef and potato pasty in one hand and a hot ale posset in the other. So the a scent-like evening. Candle scented with moth orchid. All right. Wrapped in the King, detailed accounts of secret bacchanals and ecstatic dances observed in the necropolises and graveyards in southern Europe, in Egypt, and in Anatolia. The author is a self-confessed ghoul, an eater of buried flesh. He claims to have witnessed the dances while at his feasting. The dances draw from the traditions of the mysteries of the cults of Isis and Sybil, and includes both symbolic and literal flayings, and the human heart is always central in the rites. The author punctuates his accounts with queasily sensuous descriptions of his own interrupted feasts. At these greater feasts, a black pig is always crowned as a king before its slaying. On this occasion, its heart was weighed in the balance against a knot of feathers, and its skin became a cape for the officiant. Its flesh was left for the crows, but I must confess my interest was not in its carcass, but in the perfumed flesh of the milliner laid fresh in the earth. And move gingerly while the pain lasts. An old wound, the wound is visible, the pain is not. Now, where on earth... Oh, there it is. Yeah. Again, I feel a little foolish having done this, but... I don't need to listen to everything Reverend Timothy says. He doesn't even really expect me to, but I'm often glad when I do. A light for dark places. I can offer my assistant a candle. This will increase their aspects. They'll keep any candle stumps that might be left over. All right. Towards a fundamental aesthetic, or the House of Glass, Julian Cosley considered this his masterwork. Techniques for perception and analysis which permit invidious and apocalyptic conclusions, possibly the most assiduously suppressed book in history. The entire run was destroyed, even the presses were melted and dispersed, but the manuscript edition has survived. The perfect hegemony of the hours is perhaps eternal, but Cosley proposes and describes confinement inescapable, aesthetic and optical techniques which might contain even an hour, profoundly disrupting the order of the mantis. He presents this as his own work, but there are hints here and there that he received inspiration or even assistance from the nowhere hour named Snow. Turns out I didn't need the shaft. So I can discuss a memory with my assistant. This will use up the memory, but boost the assistant's abilities for the rest of the day. So again, a lumpy day, but it turned out in the end. So we needed the 15 knock. Never mind. In the name of the two blades that are one, of the threshold which has two sides. Better now. Alright, so let's get that shaft back. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal in a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. We'll put the sacrament asite back. And what else? Oh, here we go. The Lake Fusino recordings. Recordings of the folk dances of the Fusine marshes. The wailing of flutes, the roaring, of drums, cries like birds lost in the marshes. These are the songs that the sisters sang to the witch, which the Thunderskin roared to the sky. The songs which heard the Dwendrazones of the Manses. With which the Dwendrazones of the Manses keep their vigil. Once heard, they are not forgotten. So we get a beguiling melody for our trouble. And 2 drums and dances. So this one, beguiling melody actually doesn't do that much for us here because it's Grail and Sky. It's Heart and Nectar that we need. Now I've already got the Earth Sign. Technically I've also got the Hive's Lament. This is something I would be willing to take a crack at. Oh, you're kidding me. Okay. There we go. So I guess the big question here is, where's my drums and dances at already? 4. Okay, that's a little harder than I thought. We'll see what Reverend Timothy gives me. But I'm not moving heaven and earth to make drums and dances work today. Memories don't last long outside books, but it's made the difference for the day. All right, we're going to talk with Reverend Timothy. We'll be a little bit behind with the shaft, but overall, by the end of the day, we will be able to open the impermeable cell. And then, the nice thing would be if Reverend Timothy gives me something like a solace, great. At that point, we can use the elements of the soul to level up 1 point of drums and dances. If not, we'll save that for the next day. I don't want to give up like a Daiduma. Well, actually, I couldn't give up the Daiduma, so I guess I would need to give up the Earth Sign. Well, you know what? Giving up the Earth Sign's not the end of the world. So maybe. But yeah, I figure maybe 1 point in drums and dances. Who knows? Definitely not giving up Hive's Lament for that. But priority number 1, priority number 2, let's say, would be drums and dances. And then, assuming we do that, I guess we still wait for the weather with resurgences and emergences. I'm almost certain I've got a better way of making this work. But I think after that, it's a tough call as to whether or not I want to read any more books, or maybe I want to start focusing on clearing some of these out. Because the funny thing is that there isn't a whole lot that has changed, just in terms of my ability to clear these curses, and yet I feel like I should at least come up with a better accounting in terms of what's actually possible, particularly because I now have that Newman to work with. But again, all of that will be handled next week. I'm pretty happy with where we are. I know this was delivered over a few sessions, so it is worth remembering. We got some pretty big revelations over the last few streams. So we have particularly the genealogical chart. We have indications as to what was kept in the basement of the... not want me to look at it. It really does not want me to... Sleep well, everybody. The oubliette here, a vessel shaped by fire and fate. George Collers confined a flame in human flesh, a blazing shadow of a blazing future, a name of greed and time. Green called it the sun's bastard grandchild. Van Loren warned of the second dawn's first spark, but Collers spoke of it reverently as the leashed flame's true heir. and the Crucible Tower, the interview laboratory. When a prisoner resisted all other interventions, Collers would bring them here to test and refine their worth. His successes might be transferred to Zurich or turned over to the Legion du Sul to earn their humanity, or even at least once released, but his successes were not numerous. Here at last is where the fire began and where it ended. When the power below the prison was released, it came here to interview Collers. Perhaps it intended to put him in his own device, but it seems that there was not nearly enough of him left for that. So we didn't just learn about the fire, but we learned quite a bit more about Collers' project, what was down there. Doesn't mean we know everything. It's not, I don't mean to present this in such a way as it's like, yeah, you just look at these 3 rooms, and if you don't understand the game, that just means you're not smart enough for it. There are definitely threads to pull on. This isn't necessarily something major. Like, it's something major, but it's not the sort of thing that you sit down and say, of course, this all makes sense now. But I am really happy that we got to these, because I know the fire is one of these things. I have the feeling, actually, that in the playtest, there was a kind of a determination made that people were forgetting about the fire, that it wasn't necessarily something that people were following on. And so there were a few lines about, hey, didn't somebody mention a fire that were added inside here? And this is the big payoff for it. But it is also worth remembering, and we'll have a little bit of cleanup in the Cougar bit, but we have this whole subterranean area. And of course, it is the earliest location in Hush House. It's also the one which has all the curses, so there is still more for us to see here. But as far as the modern day is concerned, we've mostly covered what we need there, and we've learned quite a bit more about all of the librarians and about their patrons after the Curia. Anyways, thank you everybody for watching, particularly because I know the videos were uneven and I wasn't at my best this week. Thank you again for the well wishes. I hope you're happy with how the week turned out. I'm certainly happy that I was able to still deliver the videos, even if it wasn't under ideal circumstances. And I'm really looking forward to continuing this on Monday. But I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you in the next one.